Hello, my beautiful friends and loyal listeners. It's always a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you for listening and interacting with me on social media. That truly makes it all worthwhile. Please make sure to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ZenSams with an X. Now, we have a great show lined up for you today. First, a big shout out to Aikido Pharma and CEO Anthony Hayes. They've just recently joined the sponsor lineup and they're going to be debuting with a segment called My Healthy Minutes. Aikido Pharma is an early stage drug development company dedicated to developing new solutions for life-threatening diseases. Aikido Pharma publicly trades on the NASDAQ under ticker symbol AIKI. Now, today's guests are so impressive. We have a special guest, comedian Goomba Johnny, a Bronx native in the house. Now, most of you know him as a comedian, but he has tons under his belt. He started as a radio host at KTU. He's also an actor and an author. We're going to chat improv, Chicago, and where you can find him these days. We have the regular Scandals segment with legal expert Imran Ansair, partner at Idala Bertuna Commons, otherwise known as ABK Law, right here in New York City. And he is the #1 trial attorney, as I know him to be, representing high-profile cases. We're going to be chatting about how Britney Spears is fighting to have her father, Jamie, removed as her conservator, and why only now is her mother, Lynne, finally backing her up. Now, the conservatorship was put in place in 2008 following Britney's public breakdown in 2007. It was quite epic, but it has yet to be removed after all of these years, basically ruining her life as she is claiming. Then we have the beautiful and stunning Cara Castronuova. She is an on-air personality and a champion boxer. She's appeared on many television shows, and you probably know her from Season 11 of NBC's The Biggest Loser. She was the star trainer. We're going to hear what she has to say about keeping fit, females in boxing, and what it's like being a Trump supporter. She also co-hosts a new show on Newsmax Saturday nights at 10 p.m. called Wise Guys with John Tobacco. Now, in the meantime, I just want to touch on something that no one seems to be addressing: the kindergarten exodus. Now, as the pandemic took hold, more than 1 million children did not enroll in local schools. Many of them were the most vulnerable, 5-year-olds in low-income neighborhoods. Now, Alexa is just about 5.5 years old, and this is really irking me. The average child born in 2015 and 2016 is supposed to have learned the basics in kindergarten this past year, but this first year of formal education was anything but. And when COVID-19 closed most classrooms, many parents chose not to re-enroll kids in city schools. Now, as these kids head to kindergarten and first grade, it's clear that academically, many have fallen behind. Now, these babies are part of a vast exodus from local public schools. As the pandemic upended life in the United States, more than 1 million children who had been expected to enroll in these schools didn't show up, either in person or online. Now, the missing students were concentrated in the younger grades, with the steepest drop in kindergarten. Are you ready? More than 340,000 students, according to government data. Now, the first analysis of enrollment at 70,000 public schools across 33 of our states offers a detailed portrait of these kindergartners. Now, the analysis by the New York Times, in conjunction with Stanford University, showed that in those 33 states, 10,000 local public schools lost at least 20% of their kindergartners. Now, in 2019 and in 2018, only 4,000 or so schools experienced such steep drops. Now, the most startling declines, and this is as a mom where my heart goes out, were in the neighborhoods below and just above the poverty line, where the average household income for a family of 4 was $35,000 or less. Now, the drop was 28% larger in schools in those communities than in the rest of our country. Now, in Philadelphia school districts, where almost basically all students are from low-income families, kindergarten enrollment declined by more than a quarter between the fall of 2019 and fall of 2020. And the drop was 3 times the national rate, accounting for 2,700 students. Now, I will say that while kindergarten is optional in many states, educators do say that there's no great substitute for quality in-person kindergarten. And for many students, it's their introduction to school. They're taught to cooperate, to identify their numbers and their letters. They learn early phonics and a number sense, the concept of bigger and smaller quantities. These are things that you can't do virtually. And kindergarten is often where children are first diagnosed with disabilities like autism or being on the spectrum disorder. But in the country's poorest neighborhoods, tens of thousands of 6-year-olds, and my Alexa is turning 6 this January, will begin kindergarten and first grade having missed out on a traditional kindergarten experience. And that is some food for thought that we all have to start digesting, because this is not going away and we need to address this issue. But that's a different conversation on a different day. Stay tuned. Up next, we have Goomba Johnny. You're listening to Zen Sam's right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City, Tempest, a Burkhan World Project, Biche Cucina in Midtown and Soho, Revere Securities, Helen Yarmack International, and Romulus Entertainment. Tune in every Saturday night at 9 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, or download the iHeart app. Text the word collaborations to 917-575-2321. Follow Zen on social media at ZenSams. That's Zen with an X.
Welcome back, beautiful people. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I am your host, Zen Sams. Now, coming up, we have a very, very special guest. Goomba Johnny, Bronx native baby, is in the house. Most of you know him as a comedian, but he has a ton under his belt. He's also a radio host, an actor, and an author, and almost a pro athlete. Almost, I say. Now, Johnny signed as a free agent in professional football with the New York Giants and then with the New York Jets back in the day. And although both opportunities were a dream, he had to retire from the sport due to a neck injury. He then went on to establish Broadway Bodyguards, and he basically escorted celebrities and famous businessmen in and out of the New York City area safely. He looked out for good old Smokey Robinson, Sam Kinison, and Malcolm Forbes, to name a few. Now, on the comedy side, Johnny has joined the ranks of many famed comedians throughout his career by performing stand-up at popular comedy clubs like Caroline's in Manhattan, Mohegan Sun, Foxwoods, Borgata, and Caesar's Palace in Atlantic City. Then we have his famous Friar Roasts. Now, this is important because my good old friend Arthur Aidala is the president of the Friars Club currently right here in NYC. And if you're in the industry, especially in radio, film, or television, you have to become a member. I just recently joined and I couldn't be more thrilled. So apparently back in the day, Johnny entered and won a national talent search from the Friars Club for roasting. He's roasted celebrities like Matt Lauer, Vincent Pastore, Big P, and Gary Delabate. Now, Johnny has also shared the stage with many top acts in comedy. He has accolades in film, TV, and like I said earlier, even as a writer. But he's going to tell you all about that stuff, as well as where you can catch him performing these days. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Thank you. I got exhausted from listening to all the stuff that I tried to do.
Well, you know what? You have done a lot, my friend. I am so happy to have you on the show, and I want to talk about where you're going to be in Chicago this weekend. Tell us, the improv with your wingman, Anthony.
Yeah, me and Anthony Rodia will be there in Chicago at the Improv, and I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's Schlumberg is the area. Suburb of Chicago, and we'll be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
I've not heard of Goomba Johnny. You definitely have to check him out. Go to theimprov.com. You can get more details. Now, Johnny, who is the biggest celebrity you have ever worked with?
The biggest, I'm sorry? Comedically? I mean, well, you know, when I was on the radio, I interviewed everybody. You know, I mean, from, you know, Michael Jackson on down. You know, I mean, I've had some interviews that were memorable. I probably did the last radio interview that he did before he passed on with Luther Vandross. and that was very memorable to me. But on the radio, I got to interview Michael Jackson and Jennifer Lopez and Madonna and Cher, and I mean you can just go on and on.
Many celebrities, and you've shared the stage with acts, such as Andrew Dice Clay and Mario Cantone and George Wallace, and the list goes on and on. But do you feel that during the pandemic and throughout this COVID-19 outbreak, where the world just came to a crashing halt, talent such as yourself ended up becoming more sought after? Everybody wants a good laugh these days. How do you feel your career has changed post-pandemic and versus pre-pandemic?
Well, we worked a lot during the pandemic. We did uh, a good amount of outdoor shows. I'm talking about in parking lots with sometimes 250 people in New Jersey or outside in Connecticut. Where we were able, people all wore masks and were 6 feet apart from each other. I mean, it was extremely well done. People had to get out. A lot of people felt, the need to just for any kind of socialization. But I will say the major difference from doing comedy before the pandemic and after the pandemic is that people before the pandemic, after a show, would come up to you and say, that was a good show. I really enjoyed your act. During the pandemic and now, as the pandemic is where it is right now, and after you perform, people come up to you and they shake your hand and they look you dead in the eye and they go, I want to thank you. I can't tell you how much I needed this. Thank you so much for what you do. I haven't laughed in a year. And you hear that as a comedian and if you just take a step back, you're like, oh my God, I never realized, I never,
People, but being a comedian, you're also a therapist, so to speak, because you get up on that stage, you're looking at all of these people that need something from you, and they need to laugh and they need escapism for that moment, and you do it so effectively. And you don't just do it here in the tri-state area, but you take the show on the road and you're committed to your craft, so to speak, and you keep reinventing yourself. And sometimes, when people say to me, with respect to your average entertainer, the pandemic hit them hard. They were not working, or they fell into this deep dark hole. And for me, it was quite the opposite. I mean, this show was born during the pandemic. I feel like your comedy has kind of spiraled into that next level for you, and even lending to that point in time where you were a book author. Now, you wrote a book back in 2008. Have you written any books since then, or was that your one and done?
you know what? I mean, it's funny because in high school, I probably would have been voted most likely not to write a book. Um, uh, you know, and I know. I was a C student, and I didn't really apply myself very well. I mean, back in the day, they called you a daydreamer. Now they call you ADD, right? So,
Exactly, exactly.
right. So, I did it. It was, finishing the book was a great accomplishment. But right now I'm working on a one-man show that I've just been picking up and putting down regarding my life during the 90s. So that seems to be or will be my next big project that I.
Now, the first book was So You Want to Be a Mobster, Get Made, Get Paid, Get Babes, Start Your Own Mafia Family. And
Well, it's a comedic
it was a
handout.
comedic self-help yourself book on how to start your own mafia family, which I thought was hilarious. But
Yeah.
it's funny because the mafia, there's a fascination with the mafia, especially in pop culture, and especially for that escapism bit that we're talking about. And a lot of people live through these shows, whether it's The Sopranos, whether it's our good friend William DeMeo's series Gravesend, which is an
Right.
awesome series. Definitely people have to check that out. But I think that your spin on that, and being Goomba Johnny, Siciliano, that whole Italian,
Right.
let's get to it. I think it suits you well, but I think that making You're just hilarious. I mean, you have some lines in there that definitely people have to check you out. I don't want to give too much away. Theimprov.com. Please definitely check out Goomba Johnny. We're still talking to him, but I want to remind you guys that he is hilarious on all fronts. Now, you're also involved in a lot of charity work. I know that you love to give back. You love to work with kids. You were appointed way back in the day, board of directors for the Cooley Anemia Foundation, and you do a lot of contributions. Tell us if there's one charity that you like to work closely with, because I know a lot of celebrities and a lot of performers do work closely with a lot of organizations. What's yours?
Well, being on the radio, when I was on the radio over the course of 16 years, you're in a position to help promote and create awareness to many different charities. And I understood what needed to be done in the community, and I took full advantage of being on the radio and trying to help as many people as I can. But if there was one charity that I'm still involved with, that I will always be involved with, it's called the Buttaconti Fund for Spinal Cord Research. And, it was a charity. Nick Buttaconti was a famous football player. His son got injured and paralyzed, and they formed this Buttaconti Fund for Spinal Cord Research, and they've raised millions of dollars and have made great strides in helping people who are paralyzed to possibly walk again and to walk again. Yeah, so it's really it's something that I'll stay with for the rest of my life.
It when celebrities and people that have power and a voice like yourself, who travel and who are constantly in the public eye, give back in some capacity. And as a mom, I'm always completely smitten with people going above and beyond for people that need help or that are disabled or underprivileged or you name it. So kudos to you. I take my hat off to you for that. Now, I have to ask, because people that know you, but people that don't know you want to know, Goomba Johnny, how did this name come about?
Well, it's not my Christian name. And no, it's just that what happened was when I joined the radio, my program director felt that my real name, John Saliano, would be too difficult to say and remember. So many times in radio, they give you nicknames, and that was a nickname that, Goomba Johnny, and it came up. And what's interesting when I look back at the time, and when I signed on with the radio station in '96.
Talking about, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was probably, the first outward, Italian, radio personality, that with that kind of shtick. So, and there's a large Italian community in the tri-state area.
There's like a movement behind you. I've never seen anything like it, especially with you and Anthony on social media, because I know that Anthony Rodeo is very, very relevant, so to speak, as an influencer on social media, so to speak. He has a big following, and I think between the two of you do it so nicely. But I thank you for coming on the show, and more importantly, thank you for making us laugh in a time that seems to be so stiff between the political movements and the religious movements and the BLM movements and all these movements. I just like something light, and a dose of Goomba Johnny is exactly what we need.
Wow, thank you for having me, and continue to bring this all information about what everybody's doing out there, and keeping everybody aware of who's who and who's doing what. That's very, very important, and I enjoyed speaking to you. And continued success, my friend.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. You're listening to Zen Sam's. I'm your host right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, on A Moment of Zen. That was Goomba Johnny. Definitely check him out. The improv.com. He's going to be in Chicago performing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Definitely check him out. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City, Tempest, a Burkhan World Project, Vice Cucina in Midtown and Soho, Revere Securities, Helen Yarmack International, and Romulus Entertainment. Tune in every Saturday night at 9 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. or download the iHeart app. Text the word collaborations to 917-575-2321. Follow Xen on social media @ZenSams. That's Zen with an X.
Welcome back, beautiful people. You're listening to A Moment of Xen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I am your host, Xen Sams. Now, up next, we have the beautiful Cara Castronuova. And Cara is an on-air personality and a champion boxer. She's appeared on many television shows, and as the star and head trainer of season 11 of NBC's The Biggest Loser, she helped propel the show to record-setting ratings, and I hope she does the same for me today. She co-hosts Tough Villains podcast, as well as the late night show called Wise Guys, that's live on Saturday nights on Newsmax with the great John Tobacco. She's standing by on deck in our broadcast room, and I'm going to have her on in just a few. Now, we're going to chat exercise, because that's everything that Cara embodies. Exercise is not just about aerobic capacity and muscle size. Sure, exercise can improve your physical health and your physique, trim your waistline, improve your sex life, and even add years to your life. But that's not what motivates most people to stay active. People who exercise regularly tend to do so because it gives them an enormous sense of well-being. They feel more energetic throughout the day, they sleep better at night, they have sharper memories, and feel so much more relaxed and positive about themselves and their lives. And it's also a powerful medicine for many common mental health challenges. Now, regular exercise can have a profound positive impact on depression, anxiety, and ADHD. It also relieves stress, improves memory, helps you sleep better, and boosts your overall mood. And you don't have to be a fitness fanatic to reap the benefits. Research indicates that modest amount of exercise can make a really big difference. And no matter your age or fitness level, you can learn to use exercise as a powerful tool to deal with mental health problems, improve your energy and outlook, and even get more out of life. Now, Cara is joining us. She's an American champion boxer, a professional sports announcer, a political activist, and this is the most important part, a celebrity fitness trainer. She's won 2 Golden Glove championships in Madison Square Garden. She was ranked number 2 nationally by USA Boxing, and also starred as one of the head celebrities, like I made reference earlier, on season 11 of NBC's The Biggest Loser. She's also a spokeswoman and co-founder of Knockout Obesity Foundation and the founder of Citizens Against Political Persecution. Welcome to the show, Stunner.
Hey, thank you so much. What a nice intro, Zen. I really appreciate it. So nice to see you. We did the show last week, so that was the last time I saw you. You look beautiful today.
Thank you. So do you. Now, you, my darling, are quite the accomplishment. You have trained extensively in martial arts and other, fighting techniques, which led to your past acting opportunities, primarily as a stunt woman. And you appear regularly as a boxing reporter, and I believe are currently an apprentice judge and referee for USA Boxing. Tell us about this job, because this is not your average girl job.
It's not. I started boxing when I was pretty young. My dad actually was my first trainer. And then I continued on and started to win championships when I was in my 20s. And it's such an addicting sport. It's so empowering. I encourage every female to learn how to fight, to learn how to box, for fitness and for mental strength reasons. But once I retired from boxing, I really just figured I had to find a way to stay in the game. So I started refereeing, I started judging, and I started ring announcing, which actually I really love. I didn't think I would love it so much because, it's usually kind of, you always see the guy in the suit doing the ring announcing. And I kind of wanted to change that stereotype. There's really not many female ring announcers out there. And I like it a lot more than I thought I would. So that's what I'm doing now when it comes to boxing, just so I could stay in there because I love the sport so much. And the females are getting better and better every day. It's very empowering to see how many young females are coming up in the game. Olympic champions, it's really amazing.
I think that's amazing what you're doing, empowering women, especially a lot of women who are currently listening to you and looking up to who you are. Those of you who have not heard of Cara, you definitely have to check her out, caracastronova.com. Now, you had said that your personal goal is to be one of the first females in the modern day to referee a professional male heavyweight championship fight. Tell us about this.
It is, because it's like when someone tells me I can't do something, it makes me want to do it so much more. And you have no idea how many times, I've mentioned this goal to, like, say, an ex-boyfriend in the past or just somebody else, and they'll say, oh, that's impossible. A female, you have to be, physically stronger to be able to separate 2 big heavyweight male boxers. But then you see a heavyweight fight and you'll see an older gentleman who's like 75 years old reffing the fight. So why could that elderly gentleman referee fight? I'm physically stronger than him. So it's just a stereotype. They assume that women aren't physically strong enough or don't have, like, I guess, the mental strength to be able to referee a heavyweight fight. And I've been told so many times that I can never do it. So that makes me want to do it more. And I know I will. So that's something I want to do in the future.
Oh, I don't have a doubt you will. I mean, definitely. You are all about, paving the way, go where there is no path and leave a trail. And I met you on set of Wise Guys last week with John Tobacco. And let me tell you, number one, you are gorgeous inside and out. You have a body that is not just attractive to the average man, of course, but wow, you are fit in all the right places. What does your workout routine look like on, daily level?
For me, I love to be outside because I worked in gyms for so many years. I just prefer to be outside and in nature and free. Generally, I go for a run. I like to run just right outside my door, go around the neighborhood, go to a nearby like a park or run on the beach. I love to run on the beach. I think it's the best exercise with bare feet right along the sand where it's wet. It really balances out my body. So I run on the beach a lot. I jump rope a lot, which is a great workout. I shadow box a lot. I actually am training right now with a police officer in my neighborhood. And it sounds crazy, but we box each other in my backyard and we'll actually spar each other. And I really love that. Like you have to find something that you love, when it comes to working out. If you don't like doing it, you're not going to do it. For me, going to the gym and being on the treadmill just isn't for me.
It's
so
boring.
So I have to find something I love, which is boxing, which is jumping rope, which is running on the beach. So
Good.
that's what I do. It's very natural and organic. I don't do any weight training except for body weight. I do push-ups, I do sit-ups, I squats, and that's it. So that works for my body type.
Good for you. Good for you. Your body type is the perfect body type. Now, listen, you are you're also a well-known, outspoken supporter of former President Donald Trump. Now, you have gone out there advocating for Republicans. You advocate for the former president, and you're also the founder of the Liberate New York movement and Citizens Against Political Persecution, otherwise known as CAPP. What motivated you to start CAPP? There must have been a moment in time where you said, this needs to be done and I'm going to do it. What was that moment?
I think that last year with everything with the lockdown, when that happened, because I'm such a fitness and wellness person, the thing that motivated me to start Liberate New York, which eventually led to Citizens Against Political Persecution, was, like I mentioned, I was going for a jog one day and I ran to the park and there was a big padlock on the park and I couldn't run. And they were telling us stay inside the house. To me, that it was sort of encouraging people not to be fit. So that had me really thinking. And I started the Liberate New York movement, which was out there advocating for the reopening of New York State and really against the shutdowns that were happening at the time. So that's how I started Liberate New York. And I got a retweet from Donald Trump about a month into that. He retweeted a rally that I did saying, congratulations on the rally, great job, because he, I guess, was also he was for opening the country and, it was crashing the economy. So I did get a retweet from him, which made me realize that, he's paying attention to people that are just regular people, which I thought was awesome. And then only a few months ago, I started a new organization called Citizens Against Political Persecution because I found out that there's a lot of people that were at the protests on January 6th that are still being detained in Washington, D.C. jail, and they're being politically persecuted because a lot of them are just trespassing. But because of the politics going on at the country right now, they are public enemy number one, and they're being treated without due process rights. So we're advocating for them. We're, asking for their release from prison so that they could stand trial, and be fit to stand trial, which is so important. So, it's difficult because it's such a taboo subject, you could say. And it was difficult being a supporter of Donald Trump because I am coming from sort of a Hollywood background. I was working on a show, living in Hollywood, doing a lot of stuff in the entertainment industry. So I think a lot of people can understand that when you're a Republican and you're a Donald Trump supporter, a lot of people there's cancel culture. So you always have that fear.
That was the next question. The next question was, what's your take on the political climate? Do you feel that Republicans are being singled out? And do you feel that the cancel culture is aimed more towards Republicans, so to speak?
I do. I feel like I never even considered myself a Republican, but now I guess I do. I was always sort of an independent, but now I'm starting to gel more with Republicans because I feel they're just more for personal freedom. And that's just what I'm about. I'm not 100% Republican, 100% Democrat. I'm just, I feel like I have my own identity, but I did really like Donald Trump and what he stood for.
And people should never judge one based on their political and their religious beliefs. And I'm a huge advocate for that. And we have about 4 minutes left in the segment, Cara, but I wanted to get your take on getting vaccinated if you have natural immunity and antibodies, which I know you do. Now, there was clinical studies from Israel, the Cleveland Clinic in England, and elsewhere, and those studies have demonstrated beyond a doubt that natural immunity to SARS-CoV-2 provides robust and durable protection against reinfection, comparable to or better than that provided by the most effective vaccines. And examining the evidence this May, the World Health Organization concluded that current evidence points to most individuals developing strong protective immune responses following natural infection from COVID-19. So the question is, if the protection from natural immunity even exceeds that of some of the less effective, like Johnson & Johnson vaccines, which according to the CDC demonstrated only 66.3% effectiveness at preventing infection in clinical trials. The question is, if you're naturally immune, why should you be forced to now go get a vaccine? And perhaps maybe it's better to wait until you shed that natural process. What's your take on this? Because I know you have strong opinions.
I do have strong opinions, and that was one of the things that I was sort of advocating for with some of my political groups. I do believe that the vaccine is a political weapon. That's just my opinion. If somebody wants to get the vaccine, they have the freedom to do so. I have had COVID. I survived COVID. I have natural immunity. I have antibodies. Regardless if I had COVID or not, though, my choice would be not to get the vaccine, just because I believe that it hasn't been tested enough and it has not been FDA approved. Why would I want to get a vaccine that has not been really approved? And that, in my opinion, was rushed. For me, I'm very healthy. I feel like my COVID shot is going to the gym, working out outside, it's breathing fresh air, it's eating healthy, and all of these things that are proven to prevent COVID that the government isn't talking about. Why aren't they encouraging people to lose weight, to eat healthy, to stop smoking, and all the things that put you at risk for COVID? Like people that smoke are at risk for COVID. People that are obese are at risk for COVID.
There's definitely a lot of factors contributing to that. And listen, getting the vaccine is kind of where the country is at right now in terms of where the records seem to be dropping the amount of hospitalizations. They're saying that the people that are now currently in ER, in respiratory distress, are apparently people that have not been vaccinated. Now, that's yet to be determined with actual numbers. This is what they're reporting. Now, we know that the COVID recovered individuals like yourself have been mostly excluded from the vaccine clinical trials, rendering any claims about the purported safety to this group largely speculative, so to say. And we know that clinical evidence has suggested that COVID survivors suffer more frequent and more serious side effects from vaccination than those who have never been infected. So these are all things to keep in mind. I personally am not anti-vaccine whatsoever, but I do believe that people should have the choice to vaccinate or not, given the current climate. But Cara, listen, we have run out of time. It's so nice to talk to you about this stuff, because you and I could go on and on. Hopefully I'll come on again and we'll do some more wise guys together.
Yeah, we have a lot in common. So thank you so much. Thank you for all you do, Zen. And it's so empowering. Like, you keep empowering women and keep doing what you're doing. And I appreciate you.
Oh, without a doubt, my beautiful lady. Listen, everybody needs to check out Cara Castronuova. That's Cara, C-A-R-A, Castro, C-A-S-T-R-O, Nuova, Nuova.com. Cara Castronuova. Definitely check her out. Also check her out on Saturday nights on Wise Guys with John Tobacco. I'm Zen Sams. We'll be right back after this with a little bit more on A Moment of Zen.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City, Tempest, a Burkhan World Project, BJ Cucina in Midtown and Soho, Revere Securities, Helen Yarmack International, and Romulus Entertainment. Tune in every Saturday night at 9 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, or download the iHeart app. Text the word collaborations to 917-575-2321. Follow Zen on social media @ZenSams. That's Zen with an X.
Welcome back, beautiful people. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York. I am your host, Zen Sams. Now, up in just a few, we have the Scandals segment with Imran Ansair of Adala Bertuna Commons, otherwise known as ABK Law, right here in NYC. And we're going to be chatting about how Britney Spears is fighting to have her father, Jamie, removed as her conservator. And finally, her mother, Lynne, is backing her up. Now, the conservatorship was put in place back in 2008, following Britney's public breakdown of 2007. And a recent documentary titled Framing Britney Spears spotlighted how severe media scrutiny had led to her downfall with substance abuse and mental health issues. FreeBritney.Army is just one of a growing number of advocacy groups pushing for California courts to release Britney from her conservatorship under the banner #FreeBritney. It's a fluid grassroots movement in which members share and analyze court documents, help one another understand the ins and outs of guardianship law, organize in-person rallies around the world, and get the word out about Britney's story. Now, that's the lowdown on the movement, because many ask, what exactly is Free Britney? Now, as it stands as of last week, Britney's mom, Lynne, has asked the court to replace Jamie with CPA Jason Rubin, while Lynne filed a declaration of support, blasting Jamie and his complete control over their daughter. Now, earlier this month, Britney made allegations against her dad during a court hearing. She told the judge that she was extremely scared of Jamie and that she was there to get rid of him and charge him with conservatorship abuse. And her father's attorney responded by saying Britney was, quote unquote, misinformed and made misstatements during this hearing and the one in June, and during which Britney seemingly verified the worst fears of the #Free Britney movement, proving the point. Here to talk about this case is legal expert Imran Ansair of ABK Law. And Imran is an experienced trial attorney, and his specialty is criminal law. With several years at the district attorney's office, he has successfully prosecuted hundreds of serious cases. Imran is also an on-air host and legal analyst on Law and Crime Network, as well as a frequent on-air legal analyst for Court TV. Welcome back to the segment, my friend.
Zen, thanks for having me. Always great to be on with you.
Imran, this story is getting crazy. I think the entire world agrees that Britney needs her life back. And I just don't understand why this is so ironclad, and why won't the law simply reverse this when he seems to hold a ton of power and has abused it?
Right. Well, it really brings to mind Britney Spears' lyrics in her song Toxic, because everything about this familiar relationship with her father seems to be toxic. And that toxic aspect has sort of permeated this area of law. Not many people really know about this area of law, guardianship, and one being appointed a conservator of someone's estate or finances. But the Free Britney movement, Britney Spears has really brought it to a forefront. And we all remember Britney Spears was unfortunately suffering from some psychological issues in the years past. There was that breakdown, which made a lot of the tabloid headlines. And at that time, it was determined by a court that her father would step in and manage her financial affairs and also some of her personal affairs. That has now risen to a level where Britney Spears is saying that is now at a toxic point, where he is now paying himself. He is getting portions of her proceeds from that Las Vegas residency. He is now making his own choices at the forefront, being the most important thing rather than Britney Spears. That's what Britney Spears is saying. And then there's all these allegations that he's controlling her life to a point of micromanaging it. We know that she wanted to be off birth control, have the birth control device removed so she could have more kids with her boyfriend. There's this allegation that he stopped that. So it's really risen to a level that the law is now at play. We're in court. Britney Spears' attorney is now making a motion to formally have him removed as the conservator of the estate. And now we also hear from mom. So you hear that Lynne, Britney Spears' mother, Lynne, is coming in. She's saying, yeah, this father-daughter relationship is no good. He is doing things which are wrong. He is now breaking the law and should be taken off control of her estate.
And she's finally being vocal about it, but she waited quite some time to make these statements. And I remember reading, Lynne said that Britney was being treated by a sports enhancement doctor, claiming the doctor in question was a psychiatrist who was basically prescribing what she and many others thought to be entirely inappropriate medicine for Britney at the time, who didn't want to take the medicine. And she further claims that she witnessed Britney being compelled by that doctor with the knowledge and encouragement of Mr. Spears to enter a health facility that she didn't want to enter, where she was treated with punishment if she didn't stay for medical treatment and she didn't want to endure it. So, Lynne is being vocal about it, like you said now, but why has she waited so long? Was there something preventing her from speaking and really kind of supporting her daughter here?
Zen, I mean, we really don't know. And we do know that the family sort of that battle within itself, because Britney Spears is also going after her sister, Jamie Lynn Spears, saying that she also, benefited, if you will, from this toxic conservatorship in terms of getting a condo and Britney Spears' money and all these things. And now we see two sisters sort of battling it out, and that's permeated into social media. And really everyone is fascinated about what's going on, and they're following Instagram and watching what's going on the legal front via social media. But why didn't mom step in earlier? I can't really tell you that, but we do know that she is coming up to the forefront now and looking to protect her daughter. And when you hear these allegations, and listen, the allegations in court, they're going to play out in court. Both attorneys for both sides are going to be putting for some sort of case before this judge in terms of benefiting their client. But you really hear about a nightmarish scenario for Britney Spears, and you feel for her. And I think that's why you get that Free Britney movement, hashtag Free Britney, which has been really going across social media and the public, because you really get this sense that her personal liberty has been taken away by her father, by this conservatorship. And it's one thing to protect someone's financial means and their financial assets if they can't do it themselves. It's another thing to start taking away one's personal liberty to make choices about having kids, to make choices about their health. And if medication that shouldn't be prescribed is being prescribed in order to put that person into complacency and not speak up against the injustice against them because of this conservatorship or injustice by their father or anyone appointed to manage their affairs, well, that's just wrong. And I think that's why we have just seen this whole movement for Britney Spears, and why you see everyone fascinated about what's going on in court, because it's going to be a battle.
It is, and it's a battle.
We're all going to be looking.
Yeah, and you know what? This battle has transcended into pop culture, into social media. Like we talked about at the beginning, you have these advocacy groups really kind of on the front lines for her. But when you look at the way the law has conducted itself, so to speak, there are holes here, because when you hear of physical altercations that may have been, there was an incident back in September of 2019 when Britney's ex-husband, Kevin Federline, alleged Jamie abused their son, Sean. He was then 13 years old. And after an investigation, the DA found insufficient proof that Jamie should face criminal charges, but Kevin did obtain a restraining order against Jamie, the grandfather. Now, this is the man holding complete control over Britney Spears. Is that not a red flag? Wasn't that something that could have been taken further up the ladder, so to speak, so that this could, get the conservatorship reversed based on his, inability to even grandparent properly?
Yeah, no, Zen, I think that a lot of accusations would probably be flying back and forth between this family, because things are so heated at this point and even previously. And that is one of the points that Britney Spears' mother, Lynne, made, which was sort of, across the line, is that there's this allegation that Jamie Spears, the father, had a physical altercation with the Federline boys, Britney Spears' children, and that just crossed the line. So you hear about this allegation. What should an investigation had been made? Well, we hear that it was. They found out that there wasn't enough evidence to prosecute, but it doesn't mean it didn't happen, because now you hear these allegations percolating up again. And it comes down to the question, is Jamie Spears appropriate to keep going on as Britney Spears' conservator. And with all these allegations coming out, if they're corroborated, I don't know if that's going to be withheld, and we may be seeing Britney Spears seeing some freedom in terms of making her own choices.
Yeah, and the whole point of a conservatorship is, that main focus of a conservatorship should be that it's in the best interest, happiness, well-being, safety of Britney. I mean, that's the point. This is clearly, like you very eloquently stated, it's toxic. And now this has turned into a whole movement. And I think that the court really needs to look at the recommendations that they're putting in front of them to replace him or to get him out, because it's really clearly affecting her in ways that I think she's still suffering. I think she's just a prisoner. And I think that I read that the next hearing is September 29th. But I mean, this keeps getting dragged on, and the world is getting more and more frustrated. And here you have this man living the life off of all of her earnings. They don't even have a relationship, and he's clearly not the best, batch in the pot, so to speak. He's one of the rotten apples, from what I hear.
Yeah, no, you got to think about why this conservatorship was put in place to begin with. It's because she was having and suffering from some mental illness, and she had that breakdown. This can't be good for her mental health. And that, again, her mother's coming out and she's saying just that, that this is taking a toll on Britney. It's causing her mental turmoil, emotion, anxiety, and stressorship, or the goal of that conservatorship is. So we got to keep that in mind and really recognize what's best for Britney, because that's what the court should be looking for. And if this isn't it, then there needs to be change.
I agree. I mean, we've seen so many holds in cases this year, some where the law was in the favor, some where it wasn't. We just talked about Bill Cosby getting let off on a technicality, so to speak. I think that, in this particular case, you have a strong millennial demographic advocating for her, because even as a millennial, like, I grew up listening Britney Spears. It's like maybe the Gen Zers are thinking like Britney Spears, she's old news, but she is carrying weight because of this conservatorship and because of all of the details involved. People want her freed. And like you said, this has hit emotionally close to home, and it's evoked emotion in the average person even hearing about Britney Spears. And when you hear something like the father preventing her from having a birth control choice, that's just appalling. That's just not even acceptable anymore. And that's when the law is no longer working.
Absolutely. And I think that's really fascinating. You brought up a great point, Zen, is that you see how the public is now becoming more involved with legal matters just by virtue of public people and people in the public domain, actors, actresses, celebrities, and then social media. And you see Britney on social media bringing attention to her legal problems. So you're seeing this sort of merger of public input, social media, and the law. And that could be good or it could be bad, because you don't want people tried in the court of public opinion. You want them tried in the court of law. So it's sort of a balance here, but definitely you see a movement sparked on a legal question with social media and a lot of young people really voicing out in support of Britney.
Yeah, absolutely. Imran, we've run out of time. We have just a couple of seconds left. It's so great to have you on. You're so full of knowledge. Can't wait to have you on again. Guys, you definitely have to check out Imran. He's an on-air host and legal analyst on Law and Crime Network, as well as a frequent on-air legal analyst on Court TV. He is a partner at ABK Law here in NYC, and we are so happy that you are our contributor.
Thank you, Zen. Thanks for having me.
Have a great day. We'll be right back. I'm Zen Sams. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WR, the voice of New York. Stay tuned.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City, Tempest, a Burkhan World Project, Vice Cucina in Midtown and Soho, Revere Securities, Helen Yarmack International, and Romulus Entertainment. Tune in every Saturday night at 9 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, or download the iHeart app. Text the word collaborations to 917-575-2321. Follow Zen on social media at Zen Sams. That's Zen with an X.
We're almost at the end of our date, my friends. But before I leave off, I'm going to talk about Atlantic City's air show and how they are saluting military and first responders. It is expected to draw more than 500,000 spectators, and it's taking place on Wednesday, August 18th of this year. Now, the awe-inspiring aspects of the Atlantic City Air Show have been numerous since 2003, and that's when they debuted, from flybys of classic and specialized aircraft to parachutists and pilot acrobatics that leave hundreds of thousands of spectators wondering what were these daredevils thinking to attempt such stunts. Now, the Atlantic City Air Show is New Jersey's largest single-day event and the largest midweek air show in the nation, drawing that estimated 500,000 spectators annually. It takes an incredible coordination effort among many organizations to make it happen. And with the residual effects of the pandemic still lingering, this year was even more of a challenge. Now, the U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds are the show's main attraction and are debuting a new demonstration with the F-16 Fighting Falcons that they pilot. Since the majority of their 2020 air show season was canceled, the additional time gave the Thunderbirds more free time to enhance their routine. Their first new routine in nearly 40 years. Wow. Now, the U.S. Air Force is also sending its F-22 Raptor demonstration team to the show, and the F-22 Raptor is the Air Force's premier fighter aircraft, combining stealth, long-range travel capacity, extreme maneuverability, and integrated avionics. The plane represents, according to its manufacturer's website, LockheedMartin.com, an exponential leap in warfighting capabilities. The cost to build an F-22 Raptor is, are you ready? $150 million. Definitely go check it out this Wednesday, August 21st in the Atlantic City area. Do check out their website for more details, airshow.acchamber.com. Well, that's a wrap, my friends. Thank you for being loyal listeners. Many of you have already texted me for collaborations, and I love it. Please keep those texts coming in. You can text feature me or collaboration to 917-575-2321. Again, that number is 917-575-2321. Remember to follow me on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I am everywhere at Zen Sams with an X. Remember to join me right here on 710 WR, the voice of New York, every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. or go to 710WOR.iHeart.com/A Moment of Zen to watch fully uploaded episodes as of Sunday morning. Remember, we are also a vodcast. Tune back in next Saturday at 9 p.m. I have an amazing and exciting lineup of guests as usual. Thank you for listening to A Moment of Zen. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host. Thanks again to all of our sponsors, Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City, Romulus Entertainment, BJ Cucina, Helen Yarmack International, Revere Securities, Tempest, a Burkan World Project, Aikido Pharma with ticker symbol AIKI. Till next week, and remember, happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it.